All right, so welcome to the KEDICHO Podcast, our introduction episode that we're going to be doing. And in this podcast, you're going to be finding out why we even started this podcast to begin with.
Right.
And also a little bit about us. And yeah, so welcome to the podcast,
welcome,
guys. Yay.
Yeah, this is KD0.
This is KEDICHO finally here.
Oh, yes.
Been a lot of in the back working to get to this point, but we're here already. So
happy to be here.
yeah. So one thing I will say, this is the podcast where we're going to be diving deep into the dichos that we grew up hearing from our parents, Latino parents.
Oh, yeah. So I'm sure you guys may or may not know some of those dichos that we're going to be talking about later on in the podcast, but we're all here to learn all about them. So
yeah, definitely our challenge that we're going to have to bring and present to y'all is the more in-depth information about the dichos.
like where they're from, like how would they be used? Is
Definitely. Yes. And that's the main purpose of this podcast.
How exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Touching into our roots, you know?
And I think that's one of the main reasons why we even consider this. It's because so many times that I said it to myself at some points where like, I wonder what's the root of that dicho. I'm like, who even came up with it, if anything, you know?
And sometimes when I remember our family members, they would even say, oh, that's in the Bible. And it's like, what? They have it like a phrase in the Bible.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's actually really interesting.
And those are the ones that you like kind of throw to people, I guess. I'm like, you throw them at them. No. Like you say it to your family members, and they're meant to be like old age knowledge that is passed down.
Yeah.
And there's like a meaning behind it, but I don't. And the thing that would happen to me is like I wouldn't know. I would hear the dicho, and I would not like. It's
like said in in code words. I don't even know, but
right, like. There's a literal meaning of it, like camarón que se duerme, se lo lleva la corriente. Like you could see it as in like, okay, literal, like un camarón que se lo lleva la corriente. But then there's the meaning
like,
behind
what's the message?
It. Like there's a message.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that is what we want to focus on here on our podcast.
Yeah, go deeper than just the surface and share stories and information, historical information about the dicho.
And share even our own stories, things that we may relate to those dichos, or just like funny stories that we can say.
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah. And instead of doing that today, though, what are we doing, Alejandro?
Yes. So today, on the to-do list for today is introducing ourselves, getting to know us, the hosts of the KEDICHO Podcast. And so that you can have a well-rounded idea of who we even are. And the other task would be to give an in-depth reason why we even started the podcast.
Yeah.
And go a little bit deeper.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into each other.
All right.
Okay. So I guess I'll go first.
You'll go first?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I know you pretty good.
You want to interview me?
And... there's
some hot questions.
All
right,
I guess
I'm
we'll
ready.
do this interview style. All right.
A ver,
please
which one to know?
State your name.
Ooh, my name is Alondra Luviano. Just changed it, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
I just got married to
Really?
my man's. Yeah.
Oh, must be a lucky guy.
He is.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Damn. So you did all the proposing and all that.
He got on one knee and everything.
Damn.
I was like,
yeah.
got him.
Gotcha,
bitch.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How about you? What's your name?
My name's Alejandro Luviano.
Oh, stop. You my husband.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at us.
I know. Look at us.
Yeah. Over here, starting a podcast together. So that's very interesting and very cool. And I think I like this. I like
you
the
this
idea
chapter of our lives.
Exactly. Yeah, I think
like it.
I think there's a lot of growth in this.
A lot of potential.
Pursuing this podcast career, and
we're excited to share it with everybody. Like more than anything, that's I think what we
I think this idea of talking about this dichos,
sharing the roots of who we are and acknowledging that, because we're not born in Mexico. We're born here in the U.S., in California to be exact.
oh, okay, right.
Yeah, but we just feel like it's about time that we acknowledge that we are Mexican Americans.
Yeah, that's we're Mexican Americans simply because we come from Mexican parents that came to the United States. So, and then we were born in the United States, making us first generation, making us Chicanos, and being in that very awkward stage of like,
it's like a seesaw.
Being Mexican, being American, but being like that first generation Chicano. And all right, Alondra, tell us a little bit about your education.
All right, so I am an artist first and foremost. I think that's the one thing that influenced my higher education, the route that I decided to take. I went to university. You went to the universe?
Damn.
Let me finish.
All right.
I went to the University of North Texas. Shout out UNT. Woo woo. Okay. And I graduated in 2017, actually. I graduated half a semester earlier. So, wow, 3 years. That's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so I would take Maymester and then I would take the summer classes every year, just to catch up on the other classes that I couldn't take because of my math classes. Yay, love that for me. So eventually I ended up being able to graduate sooner than my initial graduating class. So
okay.
I felt kind of smart.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you received
I got my diploma.
Your bachelor's?
I got my bachelor's in interdisciplinary art and design studies.
Whoa, that sounds very fancy.
Fancy
so
word.
What do you do?
That's a fancy word for an artist and design. I did all that drawing and painting in college.
Interdisciplinary?
Interdisciplinary, it just means that you learn or you practice different types of art and design.
So you have a well-grasped
fine arts
knowledge of all the forms of art.
I learned how to do
ceramic,
like
drawing, painting.
We did video. We did Maya. Software art, 3D printing. I learned how to paint for the first time in college. I learned how to use charcoal, which is one of my favorite mediums in college. Okay. Yeah. So, that's what I graduated. I got my bachelor's. I got my bachelor's in interdisciplinary art and design studies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? What's your education? Where did you?
So highest education that I have a degree, an associate's degree in architectural design and drafting. So I actually went to a technical school, I believe so, because it was right to the point. Like I found out what I wanted to study and what I wanted to graduate with because I knew what I was gonna go do right after I graduated. And what that just means is that I am an AutoCAD drafter. So I learned how to draw floor plans for architect firms, for engineering firms. I learned all the math to do drawings of
math.
Oh, math. Okay. I was
triggered.
This is how my mom would describe it. Alejandro would sit down in front of a computer and then just draw lines.
Is that what she would say?
Like he would like click here, click there, click there, click there, and click there. And then
She's
all of a sudden
wrong.
You had like a line and then a square and then a double line and then that would make a wall or whatever. And then so that's what I went to school for. That's my highest education.
And now what we do together, like that was us separately before we had united. Before we met. Yeah,
or we kind of met
because we didn't know each other. I met you in college, but you were already graduated and working in the architect firm when I met you.
Yes, you had already met me when I was already in the workforce.
Yeah, you were a whole señor
in my eyes. World.
He was a whole señor at 21.
I know. I know. It's like so weird to think about it, but like back then for her or for you, you were like a young
I was 19
college student and you're looking at this nice, well-dressed guy that was already working at an architect firm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, wow,
pretty cool.
what a man.
Yeah, looking back, it's kind of like weird.
It's so like, really, girl, he's 21.
Hey, but shout out for me for being 21 and having my shit together.
Exactly.
Back then.
No, honestly, that is a big reason why you caught my attention, because in my world, the people around me weren't really like, obviously they were around my age, so they're not going to be graduated from anything. But
right,
you're pretty cool in my eyes.
Thank you.
Anyway, so now what do we do? So I actually am the graphic designer or the artist for all of the artwork coming in from the clients, like custom work. And with that, with the logos or the artwork or whatever that the client needs, we can make it onto t-shirts, embroidery for garments. We can do it for signage, for digital art, whatever the case. It's custom. It's a print shop. So we do all that for businesses in DFW as well as for like personal use for anybody who is interested.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So and that's how you come in, right?
Yeah. So I came in into the business, the Unlimited Stamp Studio, and I proposed to Benjamin, which is Alondra's father, mi suegro, that hey, so you have this print shop company, but like you outsource all your stuff, right? Let me figure out a way that I can print for you in house. So that's where like I took the responsibility of like if there was shirts ordered, I would print them. Embroidery, I would do the embroidery, and any signs I would help out on the printing and applying it, or on card decals, like applying it as well. So kind of like the production part of the print shop.
And the phone call guy.
And yeah, like corresponding through phone with the client, potential clients, email. Or
I do emails, he does phone calls.
Correct. So that's kind of like what we do on our day-to-day for we run our family-owned business from home. That's something else.
Shout out Unlimited Stamp Studio.
Yeah, so
that's what we do.
That's what general. We do for, that's like our, if you want to call it our day job, I don't really call it, like, that's so weird to call it a day job because it's kind of like more of like, we don't have to go present ourselves to a brick and mortar place where somebody owns it. It's like we're kind of like the ones who take scheduled and plan our day and take the clients through the steps of the production or the signing, then production, and then turning in the product done. So that's our day to day. That's what we do. And that's awesome. I don't know. I don't know. Because, so the reason why I feel like it's so awesome is because I come from I come from a background of you always, like, I was instilled the mindset of, like, you always have to be employed or you have to be working. You have to go and work for someone. You have to be
working for somebody.
And so from right off the bat, that was the thing. The mentality is like, you want money? You go work at McDonald's. You go work at a restaurant. And then if a restaurant's not enough, well, then you can go work at a construction site or in my case, my dad was always pushing, hey, be an electrician, because I hear that they make good money. And hey, that's not a lie. But I, from just being so involved in that lifestyle, I kind of like started asking questions as in like, can I own the business or can I create something so that I can sell it? And that's when the whole personal development journey happened for me, at least.
And that's when you also decided to go to school, right?
And that's when I also decided to go to school because I wanted to expand my horizons. And if I didn't want to work, I didn't really want to get employed. So I went to school to learn how to draft. But at the end of the day, I got employed at an architect firm. I was winning or I was at a better life situation economically than if I would have just stayed working at the food industry. But being at that other stage, I was higher, but it just did not make me feel good. It was a different. It was what I would call the office environment.
You were like Mr. Incredible, hating his hating his
girl.
office life.
Yeah, I have my own cubicle. And like,
Yeah.
I could. Yes, I definitely.
That was
I
you?
remember that scene, and you would just
Damn.
come in at 8 a.m., sit down, and honestly, would just go get up and take little breaks, and then come back and sit down, and then we'll look at the clock, and it was, hey, it's already 5 o'clock or 5 p.m., and then just next day the same thing. And then I started noticing that my weeks were like merging.
Because like our parents, they have been doing that all their lives. It's not like they had another choice.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. And
the fact that we're in this position right now, we're lucky.
yeah, and it's kind of like that saying, like we always go like, hey, look at us, we're doing things a bit differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's not. That doesn't mean that it's easier. The challenges are way different. So let me just say that.
Yeah.
In one way, it might be easier, like, the convenience of just working from home or whatever. But like there's other challenges that
come from, and there's the pros and cons.
I will acknowledge though that comparing it to going to a job and being employed, it is easier. Like, let's not beat around the bush and be like, oh, but it's also hard. Like, no, it's hard in other ways, but it is easier. So I am grateful that we are in this position.
The way that I would put it is that there's pros and cons from both
situations. And,
like, if you want to see in the pros of like working from home, having all the machinery in home, and so you're skipping out on the hours that you spend just commuting to work.
Yeah,
that's one. But then the con is that you went nowhere that day. We just stayed home all day. Like, if anything, we went to a different room, and then I went to the room where we have the computers, and then I went to the room where I have all the printing.
And your coworkers machines. Is your partner and your cats. That's it. That's all you interact with all day, every day, except for the weekends if you're lucky.
So if you're working from home, you're kind of like, there's like days.
Like, there's no weekends don't really count for us.
No, because they feel kind of the same, because you're still
5 p.m. on a Friday. Like, what is that?
Exactly. So that's kind of like something that we might have to, I guess, balance out. And
we're still learning.
Right. Yeah. We're still in the process of, what is it, calibrating it a bit more and finding out what's the right schedule and time. But definitely that in itself is a challenge as well, where if you're employed, it's like your employer would tell you, hey, you better
be here or else I'm gonna fire you.
Yeah. Or you get the, hey, if you're late like 3 days in a row, or like in a 6-week time frame, and you're caught being late, we can fire you for those violations.
Yeah.
And a lot of people live in that constant
how
stress
drained
of
or how dry your creative soul must be in that lifestyle. And I really do feel for like our parents in that case, in that sense.
Yeah, that's something where like they just accepted it, and then they felt the responsibility to, hey, I need to show up.
They had to accept it.
Show up, or there won't be any food in the fridge.
Because they had kids to provide for.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's another difference. We have no kids.
Yeah, we're not in that stage yet. No. We got like, how many months already? 4 months married?
We're 4 months married, yeah.
4 months married.
What is the 28th? What's today? Today was 5 months.
Dude, look at us.
Yeah, 5 months.
5 months. We got married on October 28th of 2022.
Oh, it's our anniversary.
Look at us.
¿Dónde me vas a sacar?
¿A dónde te vas a sacar? Allá afuera
Oh my God.
vamos a comer huevito con frijoles.
Ew. Okay.
That's what my
Anyways.
dad would say.
That's
I
so
just pulled out a joke from my dad.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, so yeah, happy 5 months to
Yeah.
us.
Yay.
Ooh, almost 6 months.
Woo! Yeah.
All right. So, yeah.
All right. So something else that we can share with y'all probably. Why did we even create KEDICHO?
Our why.
Our why of KEDICHO. Before I even came to the name, we went through this process of this refining process to even come up with the idea. But we knew, because we talked about it, that we wanted to do something that we were both connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we have been talking, even without us
Being aware.
being aware or wanting to start anything with this, but we will always talk about the dichos, and we always talk about specifically los dichos que decía el abuelo de Alondra.
Yeah.
And he had some dichos that, from my perspective, only he knew what he was meaning when he would say those dichos. Like, me and Alondra would have like this little long conversations where like we were trying to dissect the dicho, and like we were trying to decode it. Like, hey, what does it mean? He said this, or like simply like just looking at each other like, what, like write down what he just said,
right?
So
and
that we can
like that's the thing
it.
that we're like. He's my grandpa. What is it, like 2 generations apart? And people in his age range, he's 84, probably already know what that means. They can like talk to each other, throw each other some dichos, and that's just the way that it was back in the day.
Yeah, why don't we have that conversation about those dichos, and why don't we go deeper to try to understand them? From our perspective, Chicanos, we were only told this dichos, but we were never given the chance to get the explanation of why, or we were just, like I said earlier, we were just thrown these dichos, and then it was our job to kind of be like, so let me try to decode it. What does he mean? I don't understand. What's the context?
Yeah.
And I feel it's not just me. It's not just me that feels that like I'm missing out on this dichos, and like I want to know
on this like hidden language that is kind of getting forgotten, because if you know type of thing.
Yes.
And that's what we want.
Exactly.
We want to have that continue and live on even long after our grandparents' generation is gone,
Yes, I think you said it perfectly. We want to bring this dichos and this way of talking that is kind of like staying in that
generation,
that old generation, and was organically does get passed down to the next generation, but
us being first generation Americans
being removed from that region and from that place, or that place which was the towns in Mexico, we are missing out on that. And if you feel the same way, and if you can relate to this, then you know that there's a lot of that culture that
we've missed out on.
We were just removed from it, right? And we were brought up over here, and we had to understand this culture. But if you're interested in knowing more about those dichos, then this is the podcast for you, because we will be diving into each and all of them.
Yes, very well said.
Yes.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
I'll start crying. Just kidding.
And I'm more than excited to dive deep into this content that we are going to be creating, and more than just excited about the podcast, but I'm also happy that I'm doing it with you.
Aww.
And we're doing this together, and
so
with
sweet.
all of y'all too.
And with you guys doing, we're about to kiss right here.
Yeah, I know.
I forgot we were recording it.
Yeah, I did too.
So with that said, that the inspiration of this whole project is about the dichos of the past generations in those small towns in Mexico. That is the name that we came up with for this podcast and our little brand that we're starting. It's called KEDICHO. have you heard of the phrase, wow, KEDICHO? Like somebody says something really cool or really inspirational and you're like, wow, KEDICHO. Or in other words, bien dicho, you know?
Right, yeah.
There's that one. But so for us, we wanted to play around with the words or the phrase KEDICHO. And instead of having it all well written, we wanted it to make it our own, a little more unique to us. So we just changed the wording to KE. KEDICHO, KEDICHO, KEDICHO.
KEDICHO.
Wow, KEDICHO. Wow. And so for our logo, we did a lot of trial and error for that one too, because we wanted to make sure that the logo is able to be translated well into garments like embroidery or printing or signage, whatever the case, wink wink.
Yeah, kind of like a logo kind of comes with that knowledge that like you do a well-rounded logo so it's transferable for media and
for
other
social
stuff.
media, for multicolors, whatever, and it looks good in one color. In this case, we did it with one color on the wall.
Right. So also, as you can see on the logo itself, it's evident that we made the emphasis in the K and the D. You can see it, right? And then we also picked an animal that represents and it's identified of Mexican culture,
which is
the ajolote, and it's deeply connected to the roots of Mexico or the territory, the land. It's in the mythology of the Mexicas or our old ancestors. They have stories about the ajolote.
This is pre-Spaniards, by the way.
We can dive deeper into the ajolote and the story about ajolote and how it's connected to the root of our traditional mythology, and also how the ajolote, I believe that you can only find it in Mexico.
To make it look more logo-y, we just did an emphasis on the ajolote's gills right on the side of their face and the little smiley face that they have all the time.
Yeah. Very cute and very iconic too.
Yes. So that is our logo and that is our name. And this is KEDICHO.
The KEDICHO Podcast. I believe we have a very well-rounded episode of introducing us and introducing the why we started this podcast.
So what to expect moving on from this. So this setup, this layout, this situation is not going to be it for every podcast. We're actually going to be focusing on a dicho in each podcast and having kind of like the history, some research, so we can all learn about those dichos together.
You're to expect a new episode every lunes.
Ooh, the Spanglish.
The Spanglish coming
the
in,
Chicano.
you know? Yes. So every Monday, new episodes. Make sure to
subscribe or whatever you have to do.
We're going to have all this. We're going to have the KEDICHO Podcast and all your everywhere that you can find podcast, as well as a YouTube channel.
So you can see our beautiful faces.
Yes, so you can
and
see a video version of the podcast. The other thing is, would you mind sharing where
you can follow us?
Where you can find us and follow us.
You can follow me personally at aloluvi_ on Instagram. And Alejandro at AlexLove with 2 E's and 2 X's on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok at AlexLove, same 2 E's, 2 X's, and at Aloluvi. And then you can just follow, if you want to follow the podcast KEDICHO, you can follow us at KEDICHO_potty here on TikTok, or KEDICHO Official on our TikTok and our Instagram page as well. Yeah, and as well, you can follow our Unlimited Stamp Studio TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, so you could see more in depth of what we do
on our day-to-day.
Exactly.
And if you ever want something custom, hit us up. Don't be afraid. We're always there.
Yeah, we're here to serve. And so thank you for being here, and we're logging out now. I'm Alejandro Lubiano.
And I'm Alondra Lubiano.
See you in the next podcast.
Bye.
Goodbye.